Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, my number 2 is Call of Duty Ghosts on the Xbox 360. Have you played this yet?
I've only played the multiplayer at an event a couple of months ago, which I talked about, but I haven't played it since it's come out. It's new.
Okay. This is interesting. When all this, it's written by Stephen Gagan apparently, who wrote Traffic and Syriana and all that stuff. And when I heard that, I thought, okay, they're going back to Call of Duty 4, the first Modern Warfare, and sort of going to sort of treat things a little bit seriously. The first Modern Warfare was a game that I had to stop playing because at the time my friend was serving in Afghanistan and it was too realistic for me. I just wanted Halo at that point and I found it too much. So when it went. The second Modern Warfare was the first one with a ridiculous brain injury. I was all for it. I was like, I was so glad they went in a ridiculous direction. This Call of Duty Ghosts starts out with a really, really muted and grim colour palette. So it's a lot of greys and beiges, and it's not nice to look at. And it takes place in the wake of all of these disasters. So there's dust in the air and stuff. It looks really ugly. So the first few hours I was like, oh dear, this is going to be dull, it's going to be boring, and it's going to be completely uninteresting. And after the opening, I'd say 2 hours, maybe slightly less than that, 90 minutes or so, it blossoms into exactly the same utterly ludicrous globe-trotting gobshit that it always has been, or it has been for the last few years anyway. And I was relieved. I think it's actually pretty good. I've seen that it's not been getting the reviews it normally gets, and I think that's fair enough because it doesn't do. I mean, if somebody came up to me in 5 years' time and said, "Oh, which one was Call of Duty Ghosts?" I got nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's nothing to distinguish it. I suppose the set pieces. There's some set pieces in space in the campaign which differentiate it from the others, but aside from that, it's business as usual. But there's some classic COD missions in it. There's one when you're abseiling down this building and you're bouncing in and outside of it. That's I mean, there's some really great COD bits in it. I mean, if you don't like Call of Duty, and Call of Duty's the fiercest detractors often openly admit they don't play it. It's never been less likely to change your mind this year. But if you're a fan, I think you're going to be quite well served. I enjoyed it. It's after a rocky start, it's actually really, really entertaining. There's still the same old occasional trial and error bullshit where you'll fail something unless you perform a very specific action, and you have to read it. The thing that happens all the time. It's ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's cliche. It's autopilot, I suppose you could say. And it is weird that Call of Duty Black Ops 2 made all of those great changes, and it didn't need to. The franchise was doing perfectly well, as usual, but they made those really smart changes, and this goes back. It's almost as if this is a reboot of a game that came out 2 years ago. It's like they're just undoing all of the changes that they made. I'm hoping that Treyarch, when they do the next, whether it's Black Ops 3 or whatever next year, maintain some of those changes because they were great. This is like a retro Call of Duty, which is really weird because it's only not been retro for 1 year. But yeah, it's really good. The online's good. I mean, it's always quite good. The maps are quite cool. Some of the new game modes are great. I mean, what did you play? Cranked?
Yeah, Cranked. That was fun, I thought.
It is fun, yeah, where you have to sustain. As soon as you get a kill, you've got 30 seconds to get another kill, and sort of your skills go up as you get more and more kills. I've seen a lot of people saying that they think the maps in Ghosts are too small, and I think they're about right, apart from about 3, which I think are too large, especially for Cranked, because when you're playing on one of those large maps, there's a castle level where you're outside in all the grounds and stuff. There's 3, I'd say, that are quite large, and when you play Cranked on those maps, I often just died. 8 out of 10 times, the 30 seconds would be up and I'd die, just because I wouldn't find anybody. Blitz is another mode that I think's new. I don't think I've played it before.
Is that the one that you have to get to like the end zone?
Yeah, it's like American football.
Yeah, that's the other one I played.
But you instantly teleport. The second you get on it, you bounce back to you. So it's really hard to defend because someone just needs to sprint through and they're in. And again, straight out again. But that's a really cool mode. Infected is a zombies game type, which I'm sure has been around before. The maps are good. There's a new squads mode, which is kind of squads versus squads. It doesn't need to be separated really, except you can do it without a full team. So you can have one guy versus one guy, and you've got 3 AI partners.
Okay.
And it's just a way of playing with bots, which is quite interesting. The AI of these bots is quite interesting because sometimes, because you see a kill cam after you've been killed by one of them, sometimes you'll see them do something. You're like, wow, I don't know how they programmed the AI to do that, because that's really smart, reacting really quickly to stuff that's happening. It's like, wow, we're all going to be killed by machines someday. And then other times you look at the kill cam and it's like walking down a corridor and staring at the wall at some imaginary paintings, and then it just turns and shoots you. So it's a mixture of being impressive and just looking like the dumbest thing in the world. Safeguard is the horde mode. Call of Duty has always done horde very well, I think, considering how stale that has become when they implemented it in Modern Warfare 3 and then they did it again last year. I thought it's actually a really good mode. They've done not zombies, but a sort of variation on zombies called Extinction, which is just you're destroying these alien hives. It's fun, but very familiar. It's not quite as fully realised as the zombies games in the Treyarch Call of Duties, just because those felt like they could almost be a full game on their own. They were so large. This is quite sort of run of the mill. It's fun. It's just a little bit familiar. Yeah, I mean, it's not it's for the first time. As a fan of shooters, I think this is the first time that Call of Duty has been inessential for about 5 years, maybe. So I'd say that if you're a fan, this is not if you're a fan. If you're thinking, if you buy Call of Duty every year, and maybe you're thinking about Battlefield this year, or you're thinking about not picking it up, I'd say this is the year to do it, because it doesn't feel like. Especially on the brink of a next gen. If you're buying this with a next gen console, it's a really old hat game, man. This is not the game. I can't vouch for the visuals, but just in terms of sort of having a new game, this is not a new game in any sense of the word. But it's a good one. It's well made. It's slick. I enjoyed it. And I've seen a couple of people say that they think that Battlefield 4's campaign is better than Call of Duty Ghosts' campaign. If you think that, get in touch, because I've got a mate and he'll probably buy some of that stuff you're smoking.